Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome to our show. We have gathered together from the cosmic reaches of the multiverse, two of the nerdiest geeks to be found. We proudly present the professor and her geeky girlness herself, Ace. And now it's time. GeekyKOOL presents Professor and Ace.
Hey everybody, welcome to GeekyKOOL presents Professor and Ace episode 85.
Cannot believe 85.
I know, right? It was a great year, 1985. But episode 85, I'm hoping will be also.
Yeah. No, it's going to be fun.
Yeah. We're going to go back to the bank and talk about Stranger Things, season 4. Part 1, but this is our second part with that, and next week we'll do part 2 because it comes out on Friday for those that don't know.
Which means Sunday. That's my day.
Yeah, exactly.
The two.
Well, I know, but they're extra long episodes, so be prepared that it's going to be 3+ hours between the two episodes.
I mean, yeah, I can. That's easy.
No, it compared to streaming the first 7 within a 24-hour period, so yeah.
That was a thing.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyway, we wanted to talk about Stranger Things because we love Stranger Things. Me even more so than Ace, which is strange since she likes horror more than I do, but I love this show.
Here's the thing. I really like it.
Yeah.
I didn't get on the Stranger Things bandwagon the first season. It wasn't until, Shabu was like, no, we're going to watch this.
Right.
Okay, we'll watch it because he's all into it.
All right.
But this season, I think is my favorite out of all 4.
I
like the throwbacks.
Yeah.
I like those 80s. They always incorporate something 80s.
They do.
But this is just like straight out. Here we're going to do a series about teenagers in the 80s with like a lot of Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, Nightmare on Elm Street and a lot of D&D stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that.
So probably first season's still my favorite, but I love this season also. So
I'm going to tell you something. Like yesterday, I was watching something on Netflix and it went off, and then you know how it just automatically plays whatever next on your list or something. And because I had watched all the Stranger Things that they had, it just restarted it.
Yep. And
so I go in because I hear them. I hear the boys playing D&D because that's the first scene is the boys are playing D&D. And I hear that and I go in there and I'm like, oh my God, there's a babies.
Right. They were so young back then. COVID really kind of threw a loop into things, but yeah.
Oh my God. I was like, they look like little infants compared to what they look like now. And even the same, I still think they look like infants because I'm old, but
you're not old.
Well, we'll just think. The kids who are playing in the cast of Stranger Things are closer to my grandson's age than my son's age. That kind of makes me old.
They're around my son's age, a little older now. So
you started late. You started later.
I did. I'm older than you, and I started late. Yeah. So yeah, it's true. But I told my son because we had a guy at work who started a couple years ago, and it was probably the Halloween before COVID. And so they always do this Halloween trick-or-treating thing at my office, and my son came up to partake and get free candy because, that's what it's all about for him. And so one of the newer guys that was working there, I said, hey, Logan, Jacob over there, he's closer to your age than he is mine. That is true.
Oh my gosh, it makes me cold. But that's what's great about the show is because it's based in the 80s.
Right.
Which means all of us 80s babies, well, 70s babies, but 80s kids.
Right.
Can all relate in really great ways. Plus, it also gives our kids and grandkids a peek of what our life.
That's exactly right.
Really what? Like landlines. I do not
Yep.
think I think there are children out. I know there are children out there that would not know what a landline was, except for strangers.
Right, they're like, why are they having to go to make phone calls to this place? I don't understand. How
Why
many
not?
phones do you have? What?
Well,
What? Doesn't everybody have a phone? What? Yeah.
I love it. Like when they have to go to Dustin's girlfriend to get a computer and understand
Right.
the computer.
Because they weren't very readily available to computer use, and
Oh,
she's doing the whole war games hacker thing, which is just hysterical. It's such a,
so
especially at the opening area where she's hacking the school for him.
oh my god, that was so much fun.
That was directly war games right there. You're like, okay, right there,
And just the computers themselves.
right,
Like we're so used to having this. This is our computer. Like my grandkids, this is their computer.
right.
Everything is on this. But when we were younger, it was like this huge screen.
There was
Huge,
green.
it was oh my god, and typing out, it was not. You didn't have fonts. It was not. You couldn't make it look different.
You could not. There was no color. It was just green, and you had to type in certain things just to get programs to go.
It was like calculator, like letters.
Yeah.
It is very. Yeah. No, I love that they're doing that. So
Yeah, I do too. So, before we get started on episode 4 through 7, because that's what we're going to cover tonight, wanted to do a touchback to episode, I believe it was 1, and it's something that we didn't talk about that I was like later, like,
back.
what?
It was an '80s throwback.
It is because of the reference, and so here's the scene right here where we've got Robin and Steve, which I love their friendship. Their friendship is so amazing.
Did you see the little meme with him holding the bat and it's Batman and Robin Hood?
Yes, I did see that, which is amazing. I love that. So Steve has become this character that I disdained in the first season to be a character I really enjoy now.
Well, he went from a 16-year-old
Jock bully.
popular douchebag to
Yeah, he
somebody
was.
who actually cares. I love him and Dustin's relationship.
Yes.
And I love him and Robin together. I am so scared for him this season.
I think people will riot if Steve gets killed.
Literally, sorry if I have a cough, guys. I had COVID last week, so I suffer from residuals.
Which is why we didn't do the show last week for people that were interested.
But I literally am so afraid because I've heard that the last two episodes are like a bloodbath, and that one or more very, very popular characters are going to die.
Just don't.
These are the rumors. And I'm just like,
There are people that I do not want you to kill. Absolutely, do not touch this character.
and Steve is one of them. However, I feel like his arc has been such a great storyline, and this season he's not only redeemed himself like from the past. Like his first season, he was an asshole.
Yep, completely.
Second season,
He could have died season 1. Nobody would have cared.
He could have been the one who died. Everybody would have been like, okay, yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But season 2, and then last season, you've got this whole relationship with Robin, this whole friendship with Robin, and Robin brings out the best in him. Even though she's gay, she's not interested. There's no shipping the two together, but she brings out the best in him and allows him to be his dorky self that he hid forever. So,
well, all I can say is, since we're doing a Nightmare on Elm Street-esque sort of thing, you can't kill Steve because he didn't sleep with anybody yet.
You can kill Steve because he's in love with Nancy, and Nancy's the...
Well, unless him and Nancy get together and something happens, then the killing can happen, because that's the whole...
No, because in Nightmare on Elm Street, Johnny Depp's character was Nancy's boyfriend, and he was murdered bad.
Yes, but... Yeah, that's true. Okay. And you're right, it was, and it was a bloodbath, literally, from his waterbed.
Literally a bloodbath. So.
Yeah. So anyway, with the scene, what I wanted to point out, because we're talking about our love for these two characters, is because Robin is interested in this young lady who she's not sure will be interested in her because of her.
She doesn't know straight or gay or
right.
bi.
She does not know. And Steve is trying to convince her that this girl clearly is into girls. And one of the things he says, which is what I wanted to bring up, was she returned Fast Time at Ridgemont High at 53 minutes and 5 seconds. Nobody does that unless they're into boobs.
Which every American teenage boy at the time knows what scene that is, and that is three kids coming out of the pool.
That's exactly right.
So, I mean, I love that was the standard. Like, how do we know? Like, see, nowadays, you just ask, okay? You just ask somebody sexual. It's like you ask them. You ask them out on a date if they're not interested. And most people don't get offended. It's just how it is. And that's how it should be. But back in the 80s, you couldn't do that. So you had to get these clues.
Right. Because
that's a clue.
Where now it's much more socially acceptable. Back then, it definitely was not socially acceptable. And you could not only get yourself a bad reputation, but you could get yourself ran out of town, or worse.
Or hurt.
Or hurt, right.
This happened, I mean, it still happens, unfortunately. However, it happened way more.
Right.
Now, I will say this, and this is not, people are going to be watching this and they're going to be like, oh my gosh, AJ, did you just say this? Being a lesbian was more socially acceptable than being a gay man.
That's true. You're right.
Because women are like, okay, for the most part. And guys are like, two girls. And then, but two guys, women are like, okay, whatever. But guys then get that, like, oh, no, no, I can't, sort of thing.
Right, yeah.
So not saying it was easier, but it was a little bit more, people left them alone a little bit more than gay guys. A little town and,
two gay guy couple together, especially any sort of affection there, that was, I mean, you could get crosses burned on your lawn, you could get beat up, you could have death threats, I mean, all sorts of things. It was very serious back then.
But as a society, most of us have gotten past that whatever that was. I don't know. Because I've never been like that. I'm like, okay, whatever. Love who you love. That's fine.
Right.
But no, the BB Cates thing was funny.
So I wanted to point that out because we failed to mention that last time. And then all I thought about after we got done was we didn't talk about Phoebe Cates. We didn't talk about the 53 minutes. What are we doing?
It's literally your teenage boy self from the 80s was like, you forgot to mention the boobs.
You're not wrong. First on-screen nudity I ever saw was this movie, and somehow one of my parents' friends, we were over at their house, somehow they convinced my parents to let us watch this with me in the room and my parents there, me sitting next to my mom. Yeah, that was very uncomfortable.
First of all, it's a stoner movie. Like,
it is.
Like, your parents, like, my brother watched it. Like, my brother's 10 years older than me. So, he was like, he graduated in like 86.
Yeah.
85, 86. So, his friends were like, and we had we had a beta player. So they came over to watch.
Right.
And so we watched it that way. That's how we watched it. But yeah. It was, I can't even imagine watching it with your parents. Like,
it was quite uncomfortable.
Yeah, no.
The guy who so my parents had like I was in this couple's wedding when I was like 5. So they were friends of my parents for a long time, and Danny, who was the husband, he always thought stuff like this was hysterical. It just really, I think it just thrilled him that he could do this and say, yeah, we should watch this movie, knowing what would happen, and just to see what would happen with my parents. So, yeah.
I just no, I can't.
My mom tried to cover my eyes at one point. I'm like, hey, we're gonna watch this here.
You're like, the nipples, it's all good.
Boobies. So, but yeah. Now, my parents were much more liberal than yours. So, my parents were a lot younger. My parents were both 21 or so when they had me. So they got pregnant with me when they were when they were 20 each. So it was one of those things where my parents were a lot younger. They knew a little bit of the stoner culture because they had were teens during part of the 60s and grew up during that time. So I don't know any more than that. I've never asked them if they did anything.
My mom and my dad were both adults in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
right.
They grew up in the 40s and 50s.
Right. So my parents were younger.
My mom was very I don't know. My mom was a weird mix. Anybody who don't understand my mom, you need to go back and watch some of our videos, because she was strict in some ways,
mm-hmm.
but not strict in other ways, and very open-minded about a lot of things, and yet expected not us, me, to be very proper about a lot of things. So it was a weird thing.
It's an interesting mix, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
So
we gotta start talking about this.
We do. Let's get started on episode 4 here and talk a little bit about what happened, because this is a big episode.
It is. Well, and it's kind of like it's the episode where they have a name for the monster.
Right.
Of course, Dustin gave the name because he always gives the name. That's his
right. That's his job. He gives the names.
That's his thing. They have the backstory. They got to meet Victor Creel, who was played by Robert Englund, who is Freddy, which is beautiful. And so now you're getting into a little bit more of the history and stuff, but you also have Max, who is in imminent danger.
Yeah.
She is ours. They have figured out the formula on the victims, and she is next in line, and she is ours. So now they have to try to figure out how to save Max.
Exactly.
So a lot of this episode doesn't revolve around the kids, though. It revolves around Joyce and Murray in Alaska trying to save Hopper,
which is a lot of fun, by the way.
So it's really like any kind of 80s action movie, spy movie thrown in. like this weird.
Exactly. Yes.
What can we do? Espionage, Soviet spies, ransom, cop buddy things with Joyce and Murray as like this buddies on adventure. Yeah, no, it's thrown in. It's fun. But Hopper's in prison in Russia. And we saw him in the last episode, and and he had sent things, and so they know he's alive now.
Right.
So they don't know, but they have hopes. Have some things that are pointing them to, yes, he's alive.
Right.
But they have to go to Alaska to save him, and so they're in Alaska, and they're being double-crossed by the airplane guy. But Hopper has to escape the prison to meet up with the airplane guy from Alaska.
Right.
To then go back to Alaska to get with Joyce and them. And
but
so you literally have Hopper chained people out in the snow. It's a very weird Brother Where Art Thou kind of. And And then he escapes.
He does.
And he gets to a town where there's a church, and he gets into the church, and there's a bunch of peanut butter.
Because American peanut butter is a high sought out thing in Russia in the 80s.
Peanut butter too. It's just peanut butter. It's so perfect. So you have that whole thing going on, which is fun. I love Murray.
You know, Murray was quite a character when he was first introduced, season 2?
Yeah.
And then, just
really in there.
Yeah.
But I really like Murray. I would totally watch a movie or a TV show of just Murray when he's not with the Hawkins people. Like, what does he do in his regular life? Like,
karate lessons, don't you know?
Is he this weird spot? Does he know? Like, yes, no, we don't know. So I totally would watch a Murray TV show.
Yeah, Murray's an interesting character. I like Murray. Murray's come on to where you're like,
oh, yeah.
Okay, the throwaway character we have really made into an important character for season 4.
Oh yeah, love it. So you have that going on, and then you have Nancy and Robin have visited Victor, and they found out where Victor's family was murdered, and they were murdered. Now, this is what they know so far. It's not all of it, but it's what they know. They know his family was murdered. He talks about his daughter, and he talks about his wife, and they were murdered in the same way that all the kids are being murdered. Mm-hmm. Very eyes not there, distorted, bodies broken.
But interestingly, he doesn't talk about how his son was murdered.
He doesn't even talk about his son at all. I
think he mentions him at one point.
He mentions him when they moved in.
Yeah, right.
And then you hear nothing else about his son. And so they asked him, though, when this was going on, when his wife and his daughter were being attacked, he started to get attacked. And they asked him, what do you remember from that moment? And he says, I remember a song on the radio. Which is a huge thing that is going to be playing into the rest of the season. Yep. But while this is going on and they're investigating Victor Krell, Max is basically dealing with her own immortality. She writes letters to everybody to say goodbye. She wants to go to her house to leave a letter for her mom, who's unfortunately an alcoholic and doesn't pay attention. And she feels very abandoned. And the last stop she wants to make is the cemetery with Billy's grave.
Right. But before she goes there, when she goes to the house to drop the letter off for her mom,
this is what her time is like.
Yeah. She goes and sees her mom's outside putting clothes on the clothesline, but it's not really her mom.
It's her mom.
It's very Freddy-esque sort of thing.
It's totally a Freddy thing. And somebody pointed out that they're like, how can Vecna be doing that when he's not, it's not a portal? Like, you know what I mean? He's going through these portals to get from the upside down to get to these people. And I was like, it's close because it's right across the street.
Right.
From his first murder.
Right.
Our first murder of this
time. Yeah.
And it's because Max lives right across the street from Eddie's uncle's trailer, which is where the first murder happened. So I'm like, later on they kind of explain a little bit of how that is, but at the time you're just like, oh, it's her mom. She's gonna get to say goodbye to her mom. No. No, she's not.
Not at all.
No. But she goes to the cemetery. And this thing is really, it's so hard at this point. Like, you don't know if they're going to kill Max off at this point.
Right.
Like, it is very much those moments that you're just like, they could do it. They could do it. And, you know, it's Steve. Who is all there? Steve, Dustin. Is there any, like...
Who was all there? I'm trying to... Let me look, see if... Because, Lucas was there.
I mean, Lucas was there because he's the one who,
Yeah.
who knows. But
Steve, who gets impatient.
Yeah.
Dustin, Lucas, and Lucas's sister, right?
I don't know if she's there. That's who I was trying to think. No, she's not there yet.
She's not there. She joins them later. You're exactly right. Yeah.
I was like, that's what I was thinking. I was like, was she there? No, she wasn't there.
No, she's not there. She doesn't know that part yet.
So out there, you know, and she says she wants some time with Billy. If you don't know who Billy is, watch season 3. It's all about him. He's a big part of it. It's her stepbrother, but he died in season 3, and she feels guilt. Mm-hmm. That's the other thing about this, and in Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy, his whole point is to kill the Nightmare on Elm Street kids. So their parents killed him, and so he's taking revenge,
right,
on who he thinks are the guilty. This one, Vecna is feeding off the people who feel guilt.
Right.
It was a very interesting thing. So what did you think of the cemetery scene?
It was very moving. It's one of those things where you're like, she's looking at this grave, thinking about her stepbrother, who she did not like. But because he saved her, she feels all this guilt that he saved her at the end and redeemed himself.
Right.
And then that's why she's been beating herself up for months and all that. She's not snapped back from it.
Right.
And so she goes there. She's trying to make her peace with it, and then it happens.
Yeah, that attacks. I love that you talk about her trying to make her peace with it. That's the reason at this point, when I'm watching this, and my initial reaction is, I don't know what they're going to do. Right. I don't know if she's going to die or not. Max is considered in the cast, like she's a recurring, but she's not the initial cast. Right. So I'm like, they could totally kill her off. And they still don't know. Like, you got to imagine that Robin and Nancy have the only clue of how somebody can escape an attack, which is Victor Krill said, "Oh, I heard music, right, and it brought me back." But they're not with them. They're right, like a long way. And these things weren't invented.
No, they weren't. But there were these other things invented at the time.
There were these like walkie-talkies, police radios.
For those of you that don't know what that is,
watch Stranger Things. It's like going back into the.
It really is.
It's like, seriously, like going back into the.
I don't remember as many murders and monsters, but it may just be remembering it wrong.
Live in my neighborhood.
Yeah, right. Well, you just had Bigfoot. That's all.
Did. But so yeah, Vecna is attacking, and I think one of the saddest parts of this was Max is literally at the point where she's like, I'm gonna die. She's accepted this.
Right.
I mean, this is like a kid. Like, she's a young teenager.
She's a freshman in high school.
Yeah. Like, you're prepared to die? Like, how sad is your life?
Is, right.
You're prepared to die. And she doesn't even really fight it. Like, she just literally accepts it. And then...
Well, and at that time, they didn't know there was any way to fight it.
No.
They just knew that this is the pattern, and she was marked.
Yeah. And so she's like, of course, Vecna uses her weakness, which is Billy,
Mm-hmm.
to drive fear into her, and to for the attack, to build on that guilt. Because I think, like how Freddie thrives on fear, I think Becca thrives on guilt.
Yeah.
Like he
Agreed.
that's where I think he's going with this, is the more guilty you feel about something, the more power he gets.
Right.
But luckily they do have the walkie-talkies, the radios, and Steve is the one who notices her. She's floating.
She started floating. Yeah.
And Steve looks up, and then of course Lucas is like right there because he
Right.
saw his feelings for her, and they've got to try to figure out how to save her.
Right.
Luckily, you have a walkie-talkie in the car. Go ask Nancy.
Well, and Dustin, for quite a while there, had been trying to get a hold of the girls.
Yes.
He had been trying and trying and trying to get a hold of them. By the way, the whole scene of them going into the sanitarium, dressed up like they were doing psych students, and the puffy shoulders on Robin, and that whole thing, and the colors. It was so funny.
It was pastel. It was the 80s
pastels, yes.
pastels. It was 80s preppy girl, but
Yeah.
not like popular girl, but like preppy. Like, I'm gonna go to like the best college ever because I have done nothing but study for my whole entire life. Look,
It had to have the power shoulder pads too.
shoulder pads with the sweater vest and the long floral skirt. Yeah, no, it was a nice.
Yeah.
But and it was very, like we said last time, it was very Silence of the Lamb-esque
It
kind
was, yeah.
of deal, them going in and interrogating this murderer who I feel so bad for Victor.
Right.
Now he didn't kill his wife and his daughter.
Right.
Like, and we still don't know what happened to his son at this point.
At this point. Yeah.
So but Lucas luckily knows Max's favorite song. They happen to have it.
Because she had been listening to her headphones. The Walkman was a iconic piece of equipment you took with you as a teenager everywhere, because you never knew when you just wanted to tone out everybody, especially the adults, by sticking on your headphones, putting in your favorite cassette, and listening to the songs that made you feel who you were. Which is why I'm so attached to 80s music, is because that's how I spent a good portion of my teen years, was the headphones on.
It was also like music and Walkmans and stuff. Like, kids now are attached to their cell phones. They're attached to their devices. We weren't quite as bad in the 80s with our Walkmans because our parents weren't allowing it, because our parents weren't attached to their devices because they didn't have
They
those.
didn't have any devices.
However, this gave you a freedom. Like, who knows what you're listening to in there? You could be listening to heavy metal in there.
It could be something that wasn't approved by Tipper Gore.
Oh.
For those who don't get that reference, go look it up.
Rental advisory.
Twisted sister. Anyway,
They're the ugliest girls ever.
So, Max was, unlike a lot of American kids, really into Kate Bishop, which is great. And because of this song being played in this scene, her song went back to number one, and sat there for a week or two before, I don't know, somebody else knocked it off, but which is just amazing. So Kate Bishop was a very interesting singer in the 80s. The song "Running Up the Hill" is a really great, cool song, but she really experimented with her style a lot.
Yeah, it was very indie. It wasn't popular music.
It was not popular music.
Popular music that was on the radio. Yeah, I agree, Jason. Kate rules. She's always ruled. I love her music, but she was not what you would
Mm-mm.
pick as a popular song. Of course, we know how movies and TV work. They have to get copyright. They have to get permission. They have to pay for songs to be used. So, of course, it was probably like, let's find a cheap song.
Well,
Not saying that Kate's song was bad, but it was not going to cost them like a Prince song or,
well, and they actually have, really interestingly, because I went and looked the other day what music has been in season 4, and there is a ton of music. Sometimes it's just little clips in the background or this going on, but it was really amazing what all they have. But that Kate Bush song is really amazing, and I'm like, wow, I don't know. I paid that close attention to that song when it was popular.
Well, and it wasn't really ever.
And it wasn't. Yeah, right. It went number 1 now, but didn't back then.
It wasn't one of the things that got played on the radio over and over again. And back then, we didn't have streaming sites. We didn't have sites we could go to just listen to the music we wanted to listen to when we wanted to listen to it. We had to go buy records or cassettes. And we had to have our parents' permission to buy a lot of them. And not only that, but you didn't know about a song unless you heard it on the radio.
Exactly. Or saw it on MTV, or going over to your friend's house and have MTV, because I didn't have it either. So
exactly. So music wasn't as widely known. So good for Kate.
Yeah.
Getting like her song back out there, because it's an amazing song. And,
I agree.
And I am all for going back and listening to some songs that people forgot. So.
That's awesome. Well, let's throw some of these comments up here. All right, Ben, welcome. And Jason. Now, Jason, I agree. That's a great song. The interesting thing was after I heard the song, as even before I knew that it was getting popular back on the radio, I went, what is that song? So I went and looked and found Kate Bush, went back and listened to a lot of her stuff, did that whole watching YouTube videos continually, trying to get a feel of her music, and I went, she's really interesting style.
Yeah.
But Cloud Bursting is a great song. I agree. Okay, so I knew Sushi and the Banshees a lot more than I knew Kate Bush. I can tell you that.
Right. But Jason brings up a good point. He had a college radio station.
Right.
People like me, I grew up in Branson, and we had a free radio station.
You had both kinds of music on the radio, country and western.
Sometimes, once in a while, they would put in some comedy.
Ooh.
But they had to pull a couple songs because, Streakin' by Ray Stevens was like, no.
It's a little too much there.
Too much. So, yeah. So, I'm glad that this show is, I don't care if it's bringing back the 80s clothes. Some of them are fun. Some of them should not come back. However, bringing
them back.
Not all of them, Professor. Not all of them. I do not want to wear pastel shoulder pad. Like, no, it's not going to happen. Not going to happen.
Totally.
Okay, so my mom used to get so mad at us because we would talk like that. And my cousin was gag me with a spoon, and my mom was like, I will. So we stopped because we knew.
I can imagine going a little Valley Girl and saying bitchin' probably was not so approved in your household.
Not by us. Other people could say it. Now.
Yeah, totally.
Totally. Or the my mom would be like, if you guys do the or duh one more time.
Okay, and I guess that's what I get. I get now the silly, stupid things that my kids do that just annoy the crap out of me. I'm like, okay, I get where my parents were. Oh my gosh. Totally. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But going back to the song, it saves Max.
It does. It saves Max.
She can get away. But if we don't know if it saves her for good, or if she just got away with this one.
Well, and the interesting thing when it saves her is that she's seeing Vecna in the Upside Down.
Yes.
She's under his control right there. She's prepared to die, and then with the music, a window opens up to the real world.
Right.
And she's able to burst free in this really cool, very much, again, also in a Freddy sort of motif there, that she's running away. It's just like when Nancy in Nightmare on Elm Street got, had the alarm clock that would wake her up and pull her out of the nightmare and everything else. Very much that feel. She jumps through the window and is saved, but the music helps save her, which 80s music saves everybody. Just listen to 80s music.
That's a thing. But she gets some insight into Vecna.
Yeah.
While she's in the Upside Down.
She does.
It is in a certain spot.
Yep.
And she gets to see some of his other victims.
Yeah.
Because they are feeding him. And like I said, it's kind of like Freddy feeds on fear. I believe Vecna feeds on guilt.
Oh, yes.
And more so as you know more about Vecna's story, you can kind of not understand, but you can kind of see that more.
Right, you can see how it would happen, but without going. I would totally go there if that was me. No, not at all.
No. So yeah, episode 4.
Episode 4.
I really did like it.
I did too. I think episode 4 was like, I finished at 12:30 and went, in 12:30 in the morning, and went, oh no, I can't stop. I'm another episode. Let's keep going.
Well, it was so good because, like we talked about, Murray and Joyce and Hopper being that action movie from the 80s.
Yes.
Think of like Delta Force or Commando, but with like comedy cop buddy stuff involved. It's the weirdest thing.
Well, Commando pretty much is that, right?
Right. And so you have that, and then you have like this whole Nightmare on Elm Street thing going on. And you have a Silence of the Lambs thing going on. You have very much the group has split up into very significant teams.
Very much so.
And so.
And not all by their will.
Oh, no. But they have very significantly split up. And so you have a bunch of like growth in relationships that you didn't have prior.
Right, exactly.
Which I like. Well, we don't see a lot of, in my notes, I didn't put anything in about him, so I don't know. Do we see a lot of 11 or?
No, not in this episode. This episode, I don't know if it even had them at all in this episode.
Yeah, I don't have it in my notes. Usually I have like what each of them is doing. Like.
Right. In episode 5, though, is a big 11 and the boys episode there.
And yeah, it is. So episode 5, we talked about 11 getting arrested in the last show we had.
Yep.
Because she beat up a girl, roller skate to the face, a girl. Wait, hold on. Jason said something else.
I just popped it up and you took it off.
We both popped it up at the same time.
Hey, we did.
Right.
Lethal Weapon on crack. Yeah, it kind of is like that, yes. I'm too old for this.
But so now we're on episode 5, which is called The Ninja Project.
Which is awesome, by the way.
This was a massive, L episode. And this gives us so much more insight into L.
Yeah.
From before.
Yeah.
And you already know all of it. You think you know all of it. You don't know any of it.
You don't know any of it.
L doesn't know it. So L is with Owen. And they're going to the Ninja project to try to, or the Nina project, sorry, not Ninja, Nina, the Nina project to try to get her powers back, to save her friends. He
Yep.
said the only way you're going to save these people is if you get your powers back. And we have the Nina Project, which can get you the powers back. We hope.
Maybe someday.
Maybe someday. So they arrive at this weird silo in the middle of Nevada, like a desert silo. You know, it's totally like an underground missile. They
Right,
kept
which
missiles there.
for those that don't know, that was actually a very common thing in the 80s. These underground missile silos, we would keep them somewhat hidden in fear that the Russian satellites might pick them up and know where to target with their missiles for when they were going to shoot us first, so we could shoot them back.
Right, so they didn't hit our missiles before they could get to their missiles.
Right.
Was
So we
all-
could annihilate each other.
It was all about who could strike first.
It was.
But in the 80s also there was, this collaboration with some people to move some of these to
Yep.
other areas because people found out where they were.
Right.
And so there were empty silos. And this is an empty silo that has been turned into a lab for the Nina Project. And Elle goes there. And somehow
willingly goes there.
willingly goes there because she wants to save her friends.
Right.
And she meets somebody there that I didn't think she was going to see.
Right. Somebody we all assumed was probably dead by now.
He was dead. I really thought he was dead. I did not think Papa was going to come back. Like, that man's scary.
Yeah, man, it's scary.
Like, and yeah, Elle she doesn't know, like, she is so conflicted because she realizes that he is probably right. That he is probably one of the only people who can help bring her powers back because he is like the person who helped her develop her powers.
Yep. But
it's Papa.
Yep.
Yeah. No. I was so disappointed in him. I was like, no. I know he's a bad guy, but he's like he's a better bad guy. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's a bad guy who has a little bit of, like, feelings. And he still does. Like, he still does. You can see he's reluctant to do this stuff. He's reluctant to do... But I was just like, why? But Elle has to learn the truth before she can get her powers back. And, in episode 1... they show Elle having these nightmares about being before she escaped, and with all the other kids. And all the other kids dying and Papa coming in and she's got blood all over her and he's like,
what did you do?
And she needs to find out what did she do.
Right.
What happened that day. But they're suppressed. And it threw me back to like Star Wars with like the water tank, and we're going to put her in this water tank and submerge her. Well, she can't hear. She can't.
No, I think it's supposed to have that feel. The whole back the tank feel to it. Yeah.
Yes. Which is fun because, 80s.
Right. Exactly. Empire Strikes Back.
But she's submerged so she can remember things.
Because submersion always makes you remember things more.
I apparently should never be submerged because I'm afraid things will start. Like, I'll start remembering horrible things about my life.
The abduction in 83 from the aliens and the...
Is it right? It's a thing. Of course, it's just a great way for storytellers to give us a chance to have flashbacks.
Right.
Because if you're submerged in something that you can't hear and it's complete submersion and you're supposed to be there in that moment, your mind will wander. And if their mind wanders, then we as storytellers can wander with them into the past and stuff. So, But yeah, so Ella's on a journey to try to figure out why, because until she figures out why, they make it very clear, until she figures out what happened on that day, she will not be able to get her powers back.
Right.
They don't say that out loud, but they it's very clear. Can she take more? Yeah, we need to get her to fully embrace this and
Right.
that. Of course, we have other things going on besides Elle.
We do.
We have the guys.
Yep.
Argyle has got the guys to that safe place, where they can bury the dead FBI or whatever he is guy, and we have them figuring out that his pin, it doesn't work because it's got a secret code in it. Because Goonies never die. No.
Because Goonies never die.
Tell me that's not what you thought. Seriously.
Yeah, most definitely.
But you have them now. They have to go. They have to go and try to find where Elle is, because she's in danger. They know she's in danger. They know she's
Well, because they were almost killed by the people that are looking for Elle.
Yeah. So you have Will and Jonathan, of course. You have Mike, who was out there visiting, and you have Argyle.
Argyle.
It's so funny. It's like if Pauly Shore and Blue Diamond Phillips and I don't know, meshed up and I have no idea. Sean Penn from the 80s. If they all just meshed and we're a new character.
I've seen a little Bill and Ted.
Oh my God. Yes. Oh, it's so funny. But they have to go figure out where Elle is. They do not know how to read this code because they call this number, and the number gives you this location, but not location, and it's not a number. It's a computer talking to another computer. It's very game.
Was very unusual back then.
Oh yeah. If you said, "Oh, you have to have a computer for this," you'd be like, "Oh, I'm screwed."
Right. Can I go to a library somewhere that might have one that I can get in line for?
Good luck with that. But hey, we're in California. We're out in the desert. We're not that far from Utah. We know people who have a computer.
Right, in Utah.
Kind of. We get to meet and actually meet Susie.
We do. I love Susie. Susie's amazing.
Love Susie. I love that Susie is from a very strict Mormon family.
Yeah, right.
Very much. And Susie's older sister is a rebellious teenage girl, and her and Argyle get high in the truck, the van, and the pizza van. I'm just thinking to myself, I know those Mormon kids. I know those Mormon kids. I have friends. I not a lot, but I did have friends. But they there's that part totally reminds me of Cheaper by the Dozen or something.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking too. Yes.
Kids running around and they're all just.
Well, in the part where Susie confesses she doesn't have her computer because she felt so conflicted about changing Dustin's grade.
Yes, that's so mean. I would have done that.
And her father took away her computer, so she can't do that. So I have to break into his office.
Right.
To break into a government facility.
Literally, all I was thinking was, oh my gosh, are they going to have porn on his dad's computer?
Was that even available back then?
No, but I feel like photos were. I just thought to myself, oh my gosh, are they going there? But they didn't. They kept it.
Yeah.
Susie's family, dysfunctional, way too many kids to keep track of, but wholesome.
But
Except
wholesome.
getting high in the van.
Except for, right, yeah.
So it's okay. It's okay. We all have one relative. But they do. She just does, like, crack the code. Of course, because she's brilliant.
She is.
All this is going on. And what's going on in Hawkins?
What is going on in Hawkins?
Well, you have...
A little more Vecna.
Yeah. A lot more Vecna.
A lot more Vecna.
A lot more Vecna backstory.
Yes.
Not as much as we get, like, Chapter 7.
Right.
We see a lot more Vecna, and you see a lot more of the house. So
you do.
Where Vecna is in the Upside Down, that Max got a glimpse of. Of course, the Upside Down always correlates with something here.
Right.
And it correlates with the Victor Krell house that his family was killed at. And so they go there. By the way, this house I would totally buy. I would live there.
I know. Isn't it a cool house? I love that house. But
I would live there. It's like this old Victorian style. It's like
yep.
woodwork. Like, it's got a library somewhere. It's a cool house.
With probably a secret door in the library.
Yes. Like passageways that go, like, no, I would live in this house.
Well, I've always thought that if I was going to build a new house, if I had money enough to build the house of my dreams, I'd build this brand new Victorian home with all the accommodations of a new home, but with the hard floors. But I would also put in secret exits and put in, because it's a Victorian home, you gotta have that. That's required.
But I have a bookcase that moves.
Yes.
With something behind it, a room or a staircase or a hallway. Yes.
Of course. With the picture on the wall where you can replace the eyes with your eyes and look through.
I can't. It's so funny. Oh, this is why we're friends.
I've always wanted that. That is my dream home. It has to be Victorian, but it has to not be just Victorian. It has to be the one with the little castle thing on the side. Yes. Yes.
The spiral, so you can have that, like.
That's required.
You're fun.
It's just always been my dream, with the wraparound porch all the way around it. And...
Like, I'm okay with that, but I like the Munster's house with the stairs that open up.
That's really cool. Yeah. Well, and a dragon underneath.
Of course. Yeah. Why would you have that if you weren't going to have your dragon there?
I agree.
Where nobody's watching us and we're just like, oh.
Yeah, they'll watch later. They'll get it. They'll have a good time with it.
Oh, back in Hawkins, we also have the basketball players.
Yeah.
We have Eddie. Basically, they found him, and you have, oh my gosh, what's the one guy? Jason, who's the really preppy, the one who you think should probably be a televangelist when he gets older.
Right. Very charismatic. Yep.
Oh yeah, very much. He's there, and they're going after him. And Patrick, who is one of the basketball players, he's friends with Lucas. He dies. They're like, Eddie's out in the lake rowing this, like they're swimming, and Vecna comes through the lake.
Right.
And of course, Jason thinks it's like Eddie doing it.
Because Eddie can call down demons since he plays D&D.
Right. Because he plays D&D, he's evil. Jason even thinks that he's pulled in Satan himself.
Right.
Like, he's very much into that. So, yeah.
Either that, or else he's feeding into it, knowing how... See, I think part of it, maybe he thinks part of that's true, but I also think he knows that if he says this with enough conviction, that the town will get behind him and do whatever he wants.
And well, in the next episode, he does exactly that.
Right. Right, but that was my feel for it. Was like he believes it, but not as much as it comes across, and he believes it.
I think that he is a scared little boy who
Mm.
cannot explain what he's seen, and so
And who could?
he literally knows it's not Eddie. He did not see Eddie do anything. However, it also feeds into that 1980s, you know,
Satanic panic.
Christian, like, panic over anything that wasn't
Right.
the norm. Eddie is a heavy metal playing, guitar playing, long haired, druggy, smokes pot, freak who plays D&D, who has shirts that say the Hellfire Club.
Right. Right.
He doesn't help his situation in a small town
Not at all.
at
But
all.
he doesn't care.
But he doesn't care. But it's at that time in this country where it was, oh, they're different. Must be Satan.
Well, isn't that special?
Special. Could it be
Satan.
Satan? I hope that somebody gets our
If we get up and dance, maybe
I'm not dancing.
do the little church lady dance.
Could it be Satan?
Well, isn't that special?
Special. That's kind of what I feel like this whole thing. But
Yeah.
so Patrick dies. Yeah, okay, we're good. No.
A pretty gruesome death, and right there, yeah.
Yeah,
Freaks Eddie out even more.
right. Oh yeah, Eddie is just like, Eddie at this point has seen a cheerleader die in his house.
Right.
Been told, hey, don't worry, you know what? We're a bunch of kids and we have fought these things before. They're from this place called Upside Down. Dude, are you on drugs? No. We're not on drugs. We're not on drugs, Eddie. We fought these mythical creatures, these monsters from this horrible place. Our friend was trapped there for a long time. Our one friend can open a gate to it. It's, we have fought this. And then hiding out because everybody thinks he's a killer, to then watching another kid die.
Right.
Poor Eddie. Everyone loves Eddie. He is seriously that one character that they're like, no, don't kill him. I'm afraid for Eddie. I'm so afraid for Eddie.
Yeah. Kind of afraid for everybody, other than maybe Elle.
I'm afraid for Elle, but I know there's a next season, so we're gonna have Elle.
Yeah, I don't think we can have it without Elle for next season.
No.
And you can't kill Dustin. I mean, that just...
Oh, I would so be pissed.
Yeah, you kill Dustin, I'd be like, what?
No, you can't.
You better be showing me that scene at the end that shows Dustin's not really dead like we did last year with Hopper.
Yeah. So we go to episode 6.
Episode 6! Yay!
The dive! So, Elle is in this one as well. So you get to see Elle. You get to see Elle, really diving. See what I did there? Diving.
I did.
Maybe that's why they use submersion and water, like dive into your memories. Maybe
that's probably true. Yes.
But you really see her diving into her memories. You get to meet you saw him in some of her other memories, but you actually get an interaction with an orderly who, it tries to help Elle, like gives her tips, tells her what she needs to do to impress Papa with these other children. You really get to see that Elle was not considered a powerful being. Like, she was picked on. Like, they made fun of her. She was picked on
badly by number 2 and his cronies.
Yeah. And you see a lot more of the experiments that they did. Like that wasn't just experiments that they were doing on them, but they would pin these children against each other to see who was going to be like the strongest. Like they didn't want any kind of camaraderie with them. They wanted them to feel like, I must best this person. I must best this person. And you really get that sense in her memories as she's diving deep into finding out what happened on that day that all those children died.
Well, and you see that the orderly is helping her kind of develop strategies to not be bullied so much.
Well, and to teach her how to, apparently at this point in her memory, this is the part where she doesn't exhibit any big power.
Right.
They know she has them, but she hasn't harnessed them at all.
Not tapped in. Yep.
Yeah. And so he just suggests to her, do you have a sad memory? Do you have a memory that makes you angry or sad, or do you have a memory? And of course, we've seen the past because in earlier seasons we know about her mother and and all of that, and she has that memory, and that's what he kind of gets her to tap into that in order to get her to use her powers.
Right.
So this episode has a lot.
There is a lot going
My
on.
notes are really long on this one.
Well, it was a long episode.
It was. Susie helps locate Elle, so now they actually know where the Nina project is. You get to go back to Russia. Unfortunately, we saw Hopper escape, but at the end he got recaptured and now he's back in the prison. And the guy who was trying to help him escape is also now in prison.
Because the guy that was flying the plane for him, little...
what was his name? Oh my gosh, I have it.
Oh, it was a funny name too. It was a funny character. Not only does he double cross, he double crosses everybody. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so Enzo,
yeah.
Enzo the pilot, yeah. No, is Enzo the pilot or the prisoner? I just have Enzo down. See, this is gonna bother me so much. I should ask my husband, but I don't know where he is right now.
I'm looking for it.
Yuri. There's Yuri. Yuri is the pilot. Enzo is the prison guard who was going to help Hopper get.
That's right.
And Enzo is now in prison because Yuri has double crossed Enzo. And he's drugged by Joyce and Murray, and he's taking them because they want Joyce. They remember Joyce.
Right.
And last season, her and Hopper were the ones that closed the Russians' gate to the Upside Down.
Right.
And they have video of her, and they know it's her. And so they tell Yuri, hey, bring us the American woman. And he brings Murray along just because, I have an American man too. You want him? All right.
Right.
So he's taking them to Russia to have them be imprisoned as well.
Right.
So we have that. So the plan's not going exactly how they thought it was gonna go.
Not exactly.
No. It's a thing. They also at the prison, and we saw it a little earlier, but you kind of get an idea of what they're doing with it in this episode. And they have a Demogorgon at the prison.
Because everybody wants to keep one of them around.
Always. I have one. It's, you just got to feed it your prisoners every day.
So often, yeah, right.
Exercises. They like, oh, we have this creature. We have these prisoners. Here we go. Let's see what happens. Kind of thing. So you kind of get that.
It's almost a very much gladiator sort of thing. You're putting them in against this monster, and you're going to watch the monster rip them apart just because.
Me of Mad Max.
Yeah.
Like the whole put them in to fight to the death. Who will survive? Kind of thing. So again, more action movies. That 80 action movies coming in through the Hopper, Joyce, and Murray plotline.
Now I'm singing Tina Turner in my head, so.
All right.
We don't need another hero. We just need a way home. Anyway.
It's true, though. What's the situation? That's what they need. They need.
That's exactly right. Anyway, that would have been a great song to throw in there, but I'm just saying.
That would have been a really good song. So all of that's going on. So you get all this, mishaps and nothing's going to plan for any of them.
None.
Nobody's able to do what they need to do except for one person.
And who would that be?
Jason.
Yes, indeed. He doesn't even have a chainsaw, and he's
he literally goes to PTA. It's a town meeting, but it looks like the PTA. I'm not gonna lie, they don't have a lot of people who don't look like they have children.
No, right.
So it's sheriff talking. We're gonna have a curfew. Really?
And the deputy's like, "Hey, don't you violate that curfew."
Oh my god. The deputy reminds me of David Arquette's character in Scream.
Yes. Most definitely. That's exactly what it reminds me of. Oh my gosh.
Oh, see, I'm good at this. This is
wow.
My mind works, you guys. But yeah, no, he stirs up a mob. It's very much grab your pitchforks. We're gonna hunt the devil.
Right, exactly.
The parents. Here's the thing: is Mike's parents are there, and Lucas's parents are there. Lucas's little sister speaks up, and she's like, "That's not what they do."
Yeah, Eddie's not that at all. What are you doing?
Well, you can see her mom going no, not the time to be loud. Don't.
She can't not be loud. I mean, that's who she is.
I love her so much.
I know, she's awesome.
Yeah. The main group have figured out that where there's death, there could be a portal.
Right.
Maybe?
Yes.
Maybe. I mean, how did Vecta, how did he get to the, they don't actually tell you that they're putting it together, but they're Dustin's we can find this portal. I know it's here. And he's doing all that little electromagnet thing,
with his compass. Yeah.
This, and it's oh, but this direction, no, not, wait, how is this not how it is? So they tell Eddie to meet them at Skull Rock, but Skull Rock's not where
Dustin thinks it is.
Because his compass is going crazy. And
but Steve knows.
Yes. Oh, well, it's a make-out point. Steve knows. Steve's dude, got you covered.
Dustin, I don't know what you're talking about. It's this way. Trust me.
I've been there. You know how many girls are taken out there, Let's not say this in front of Nancy.
Heaven forbid.
I mean, we don't want her to know what I've been doing since,
Well, they're not together, but they kind of want. But
he still likes her.
Yeah.
and her and Jonathan have this weird relationship this season. Like they're not ending in a really good place. They
not at all.
Things completely doesn't mean they don't love each other. They just don't. They're not in the same spot in their lives. But yeah, so Dustin, like he is literally the reason they succeed every season.
Yep.
Because he's like, guys, I think there's another gate. I think there's another gate and it's close by and it's messing with my compass.
Right. He's like, how else does he get across? Because every time before with the Upside Down, there's always been a gate. And
close the gates. They close the gate. Like, how's he getting in here? And then they go and they get to the lake where, Patrick died. And he's like, there's a gate down there. Like, there's a gate. And I love this. I love it when the kids are like, because at this point you have Dustin and Lucas and Angela are on the shore with Steve, Robin, Nancy, and Eddie. So you have less younger kids and more of the older kids. And they're like, we're going to go out there and we're going to go find this gate in the middle of the lake.
Right.
Yeah. And Steve's like, you're not leaving me to babysit.
Right. Again. Not to babysit again.
I love that he's like, nope, I'm not doing it again. You're not doing this to me. He actually gets to go with them. He actually dives in.
He does.
He gets to be what he's always wanted to be.
He gets to be the hero.
And that is why I'm worried for Steve. Because he gets to not babysit.
Right.
He gets to go, I am going to jump in here. I'm going to be the hero. I'm going to protect everybody. Which is what he's wanted to do since the first season.
But he doesn't really successfully do that.
Listen, none of them successfully do that.
Yeah, but then you get,
Will is the only one who successfully does this. Like, not even Hopper doesn't actually successfully do things.
Just trains.
Right. So he gets to dive in, and so he dives into the water and he finds the crack and he gets
pulled in.
Pulled through the crack. Oh, but guess who jumps in right after him? Nancy. That's also one of the reasons I'm really worried for Steve, because he gets to do what he's always wanted to do in this show, is take the stand and not babysit. He gets to take action. Nancy is caring for him again. She jumps in. Robin jumps in after Nancy. Eddie's like, fine. He jumps in.
Right. It's very reluctant. It's like,
oh my God, he's like,
I can't be the only one. I can't be the sissy of this group. I'm supposed to be the badass.
Right. He's like, why do I?
Two girls already jumped in.
Yes. They all get trapped in the Upside Down. Which is really unusual. Like, it's, we've seen the kids get in there, but they're there for a really long time.
Right.
So, yep. So
not as long as Mike, but yeah.
Oh, nobody. Oh, you mean Will?
Oh, Will. That's what I meant. I said Mike. I meant Will. Yeah.
Will was in there for a really long time.
Yeah.
Some things going on. Will still has some things going on. I'm expecting some things from Will.
Some revelations.
Yes. He's weird. He's still weird. From being down, but he's good heart. But he's got some things. Like, I always look at Will and think there's some things bubbling.
Oh yeah, I agree.
This, what's it gonna do? Is it this season? Is it next season? When is it gonna happen? So there's episode 6.
Yep.
When they dive in, the kids are on the the shore, and the cops are coming. Like the cops and the mob and like all of them are coming and stuff.
Yep.
Oh, we have.
Yeah, because you got Dustin and Lucas and
Angela. Lucas.
Angela's not there because she doesn't come in until episode 7 as far as joining up with them. Because they take him back to Lucas's house, right?
Yeah, you have Max. But I thought
Angela. Max. I don't think so. I think it's Max, not Angela.
It's Max. If Steve Harrington dies, I am so worried about him just because of how they've arced his character this season. Like it's making me feel like he's finally getting what he wants, and that's when I always worry about my characters that I like. Game of Thrones ruined my life.
Connor has to say this about it, and
I haven't.
I'm with you, Connor. Oh. Steve the Hare, which I love.
So
that's a throwback to season 2, right? With the hair with the Farrah Fawcett spray.
Yes. Connor says yes. But so that the cops catch the kids, catch Max and Lucas, and
they run and they're screaming and trying to distract the cops, and
they don't want the cops to see
what's going on the lake.
Eddie is still in the boat at this point, as far as they know. Eddie is not jumped, and they don't want Eddie to get caught. So they like, and you know what it reminded me of? That reminded me of Bender during the Breakfast Club.
Yep.
Where he's like, oh gosh, okay, so Vernon's out. I'm gonna go make some loud noise and run and get them to pay attention to me. You guys do what you got to do.
Right.
So I love all these little things that I can be like, oh, they got that from that movie, and they got that from that movie.
Certainly did.
So then they take them back to Lucas's house, and so that's where his sister is.
Yep.
She was at the mob meeting.
Well, and she's hysterical because she's like, the cops are trying to interview them. She's like, they're lying to you. Can't you tell they're lying to you? And she wants to know why they're lying.
She's so funny. She's so. Is it Mike? Oh.
Connor says it's Mike's house, yeah.
Mike's house. Okay, so it's Mike's.
That's right, it is Mike's house, yeah.
But Angela.
Lucas's family's there.
They're there, that's right.
Because they all met afterwards to talk about this horrible Eddie guy and what were they going to do.
Like, is D&D really this bad? Is Eddie like brainwashing our children? Is he a monster? Have we been letting our children play with monsters? Like, that's literally what it is. It's like those parents who are like, oh God, these people are going after our kids.
Yep, they certainly are. Well, in going to Mike and Nancy's house for this is that's kind of a fun way to do it. Because
Angela's hilarious. She is.
Oh. Mike and Nancy's dad.
Oh my gosh.
I loved in season 2 when Dustin tells them off.
Like, their parents are so clueless and yet not at the same time. You know what I mean? It's like much like I don't even know. I don't even know. But so now we have the groups split up now even more because we have 4 people in the Upside Down.
Right.
You have 3 people being held by the cops.
And questioned. Where is this Eddie guy? Where is he? Tell me.
Yeah. What do we know about this? What do you guys know about this? That sort of thing. Why were you out at the lake? Patrick was just killed there. Do you know that Patrick was just killed there? They don't know any of that. Like they do because Eddie, but they didn't see any of it.
Right, right.
You have Steve and them Upside Down trying to get to a safe place because Upside Down has monsters.
Very much so.
Like fighting things off.
Very scary bat-like monsters. And
right. Oh my gosh. And so yeah, and then you have Elle. This episode has like a lot. Let's see. Connor asks a question. You guys think everyone will come back from Russia?
Oh, I hope so.
I hope so. If they kill Murray, I will be sad because I want him to have a spin-off. I really do. It's ending next season. I want him to have a spin-off.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. I mean, and Jim and Hopper both have to come back. I mean, Joyce and Hopper. I said Jim. Joyce and Hopper have to both come back.
I mean there's kill off Joyce like they killed off Hopper this season, and then Hopper would have somebody to go rescue next season.
It's true. You could do that.
Just saying.
But I think you got to bring both of them back. So if anybody was not going to come back, it'd be Murray. But
No,
I love Murray.
I love Murray. I think he's hilarious.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
didn't like him at the first. I mean, I didn't dislike him. He was just like this character. I was like, oh, he's annoying.
Right.
And
Well,
now,
because he's the whole conspiracy theory wacko thing going on, right?
let's face it, we all have those friends.
We do.
I married one of them.
Well, and we forgot to mention, but the last episode when Murray and Joyce were kidnapped, Murray was able to get free and use his great martial arts skills.
He actually fought.
He did and kicked butt. It was amazing.
And it was an airplane fight.
It was an airplane fight.
I'm like, what? And they come up with a plan to save Hopper. And Yuri's like, you cannot do, what are you going to do?
Right.
Well, you're now Murray, dude.
Which was amazing when he dressed him up as Murray.
And Murray as a Russian, like, smuggler. Hilarious.
I agree.
God. Oh, let's see here. Connor says, Murray is the best. Yes, a spinoff for him would be great. It would be so much fun.
It would be.
It would be so much fun. And then he says, well, they find a way into upside down. And oh, that's interesting. I think that would be.
Use it as a gate to go back home.
Yeah. I mean, they have to figure out something. Like you said, the plane has crashed.
Right.
So in this fight, that like.
And your pilot's not going to fly you back because.
Well, he might.
Don't think so.
If they save him from the microwave, like he's like, oh, like they get into the prison. They get into the prison right before like Hopper and the prisoners have to fight the Demogorgon.
Well, in Yuri reminded me a lot of.
Yuri's eyes are like this the whole time, like.
Yeah. Well, but when he was talking, he reminded me a lot of Yakov.
Yes, it's very much that '80s trope of a Russian who enjoys a lot of Americanized things, kind of thing.
I love this country.
Right, but he also reminds me of like the smugglers in Indiana Jones.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I mean? Like the ones that are a little funny.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, are you serious? Are you not serious? Like you can't tell. You can't tell if he's serious, which is fun. So yeah, you have that whole thing going on, and they take these poor prisoners, like the guards take these poor prisoners to like this really fancy meal, and they're all eating. They're like, yeah, you know,
because they've been starving.
Right. And they know it's like probably their last meal. They don't realize why it's their last meal, like that they're going to be fed to this monster. A couple of them do, but for the most part, they're just going to let everybody else eat because why ruin it? You're going to die anyway.
Right.
Hopper is like, of course, you know, like drinking some stuff, kind of falling down. Now, fire.
Fire. The only thing that scares the Demogorgon.
Right. Which was a good plan.
It was.
If the other prisoners would not have freaked out as much, which you're facing a Demogorgon who's not going to freak out.
Right.
If
Its face opens in 4 ways with teeth everywhere.
no actual face. It looks like
Yeah.
a Venus flytrap.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. It looks like a Venus flytrap from hell. It's just terrifying. And it's strong and it's killing you and you know it's going to kill you. So, yeah. But Hopper has a plan, and the plan is fire. He steals a Zippo lighter. He keeps his alcohol by pretending to be drunk.
The vodka bottle. Yep, the Connor mentions right there.
Yeah. It was such a good plan. And I don't think it would have worked completely, but I do think it would have worked better if people didn't freak out.
Right.
But let's face it, you found out you're going to die, and this is how you're going to die. This giant monster is going to kill you.
So we get Hopper doing the drunken master sort of thing there.
I love that. It was so good.
Yeah.
And they're looking at him like, dude, aren't you going to, like, do something? Like, do something. Like, oh my God, why can't I ever... Enzo is like, do something.
Right.
Like, why aren't you doing something? And then they get back and he comes up with this plan and everything. That fight was really cool though. The Demogorgon, glad they brought it back. It's one of those creatures that I was like really sad I didn't think I would ever see again. I love a good monster, and the Demogorgons are a good monster. You know what I mean? Like, they're just scary enough.
Right.
They're not exactly inherently evil. They're just inherently hungry.
And we're inherently prey.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, I like that. It's very much the predator.
Yeah.
He's the predator. We are the prey. It switches our humans being the top of
Right.
of the food chain to like didn't say it, I mouthed it. But let's see, Connor's talking. Connor says,
Connor, we appreciate you, man. Thanks for hanging out and talking with us here.
Hopper's monologue had me right.
Yep.
Because Hopper is trying to save his own life, but at the same time he thinks he's like no one's like he's dead. He just
right. Dart was good, yeah.
So yeah, you had that whole thing going on, which was such a good fight. Like, it was a really good fight. I love a good fight scene if they're done well, and a lot of times TV shows don't do them well. Yep. And I think it has to do with budget and editing.
Yep.
You don't have a lot of time with TV shows to edit. Their time frame's shorter than movies. You don't have as big of a budget for like effects. This was done so well for a fight scene, and it was done with multiple people. That's the other thing. Fighting one-on-one, easier. Fighting with people losing and all of this going on around, so much harder to do. And I really enjoyed that. So yeah, you got that going on.
Oh, that was great.
I love the moment when, Hopper gets out, Enzo gets out. Okay. We knew they were going to. The moment when Hopper sees Joyce.
Right.
Aww. Poor Murray. It's Joyce. It's just Joyce and Hopper that, like...
The chemistry there.
Yeah. That what could have been kind of moment. Like,
what was going to happen, but didn't.
Close. It was like, so close. Plus, like, just, yeah, that moment. Like, Connor says about hanging out with us. Very cool. then about Hopper, he was in
He,
disbelief when he
he
saw.
was.
Yeah, that was such like that moment of and he's like emotionless because yeah, she's there and she's saving him, but at the same time, she's now in danger because we have a Demigorgon and we're at Rush.
Well, and he already had a plan to escape, and he was going to escape and go see her, and it was all set. And then, so the fact that she made it is like, I've already given up all emotions. I expected I was going to die in this
Right?
thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Um,
Exactly, Connor. He thought he was a goner.
yeah. He just, it's one of those moments where he's like, but now I think, and then you see this switch in his head, like oh my gosh, she's here. She believed in me. She's here. And then there's this little switch and you see it in his eyes just a little bit. And it's from, I know enough police officers, I know enough first responders to see that
Mm-hmm.
where he's like, oh, now I've got to protect her.
Right.
Oh, now I've got to get all of us out of here. Um, Connor says, I don't think Enzo will make it. He'll sacrifice himself for them, I think. I don't think Enzo will make it either. I don't know if he's going to sacrifice himself. I think, because he has a son. They brought up that he has a son. Um, so I don't know if he'd sacrifice himself, but I do think that he's going to die. Like, I don't think he's going to, you know what I mean? I don't think he's going to make it. So, about, I guess he's talking about like Hopper and that moment. Like, it's this very subtle change in eyes
Oh, yeah.
that you don't pick up on when you first watch it. I had to rewatch it because I was like, I think he goes from like, oh, like he's been in prison, this
Right.
familiar face, Joyce, this person. That means Elle's okay. Like in his head, he's going through all those emotions, and then he has this moment like we're still in this prison
Right. Right.
with
And
Demigorgon that is now like on the loose,
right.
like can get us. Like it's just that very first response thing that I see. You see it a lot in. I interview a lot of first responders for the paper for stories, and I see that that those little moments.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really think at that moment he's like, thank God you're here, but oh my God, why are you here? Now I have to get us all out.
Right. Now I got to save you too. Yeah.
Yeah, which is hard.
Right.
Connor says it's a lot to process. It is. And he does it very well. The actor does it really well. Like
Mm-hmm.
you have to really go back and watch it because it's just like this. They don't go into it,
They don't.
but it's those little cues. I love those types of little cues that they pick up on and stuff like that. And Joyce is all about getting to Hopper, and I don't think she's at this point realized I now have to get back.
Right. Right.
And
Because we don't know how we're going to get back. Yeah.
no, they don't have a plane. They don't have. They're stuck.
Well, and even if they had a plane, getting out of Russia.
A lot harder than getting into it,
Yeah, exactly.
especially since you broke out of a Russian prison.
Right, exactly.
I mean, the only good thing about it is I think it's a top secret Russian prison, which means that they might not have like a lot of radio contact for a while. You know what I mean? So people might not know that they've broken out right away. That sort of thing.
So, any thought that the Demogorgon may be what actually causes Chernobyl? That maybe that the Chernobyl accident happens to destroy the Demogorgon. Maybe I don't know.
Right.
I'm just throwing some weird crap out there. Hey, let's just.
I mean, it's Stranger Things, right? It's in the
Right, exactly.
That's
None of
right.
them are pilots. That's true.
It's like now they're at a spot close enough to Alaska, like they're for a little plane to get across the Bering Strait. So you have that. Like there are options for them, but I don't think they're getting out of Russia without someone helping them, or like you said, the Upside Down, or Elle helping them. And so now we're going to talk. Well, Yeah, we'll talk about Elle. Elle
Let's
in
talk
this
about Elle.
Elle in this episode remembers everything. And she remembers the massacre at a Hawkins lab.
Right.
Is the day that Elle, well, not the day, but basically the week that Elle developed her powers after the orderly said use that memory. This is that week. You can tell because of when she looks in the mirror, you see Elle as Millie Bobby Brown this age, but when she looks in the mirror, you see a little Millie Bobby Brown.
Right.
So you kind of know when it's going to happen. But so they did a really good job with that and that split look, so you can kind of gauge how old she is and everything. But they go into after she gets those powers, she number 2 has been picking on her. She defeats him in the little war thing that
yeah.
Other. And then Papa comes in and gets one of the kids and takes him off. I can't 13. I want to say it's 13.
It might be.
Anyway, he gets him and takes him off. It's either 9 or 13. Gets him and takes him off to do some tests and stuff like that. And Elle is still like she got beat up because she defeated 2. Number 8. Connor says it's number 8. I'm like, I know it's like wanted to say it was 9. I just love 9, so I was like, but she gets beat up, and Papa is like, we don't do this to each other, that sort of thing, even though he really wants them to do this to each other.
Right.
The orderly shares his secret with Elle. And says, we need to get out of here. I have a way for you to get out of here. Like, I can show you. And he takes her, like, here's the thing about it. He takes her to a place where she can get out.
Right.
She doesn't want to go without him because, she feels responsible for him. She thinks he's helpless. She thinks that he's this orderly who just works there, who's stuck there too. And then, he's not.
Nope. He reveals to her who he is. Well, sort of.
Kinda. Like, they get caught, and he exhibits powers. And it's like it clicks in her head because number 1's always been missing. Like, she knows number 2 through number whatever. Like, she knows them all. They're all there except for number 1.
Right.
Connor's like, yeah, the number 1 twist was huge. Now, see, I saw it. I knew I hate watching movies because Shpoo and I, my husband and I, we both, one of us will figure out something.
Yep.
That's how it is. But I knew he was number 1.
Right.
Like, the minute that he talked to her. Like, if he was just in the background, okay, he's just an orderly. The minute he talked to her and was giving her tips on her powers,
right,
he's number 1. Knew he was the big bad. Knew he was best. No, I knew he was. I just didn't know how he was.
Right.
And I did not know who he was prior
to
being in the labs.
I did not know that either. I did not catch that.
That was the twist that, like, I was like, oh, that's good. That's good. So you all remember the first victims of Vecna were the Krell family. Victor Krell's wife and his daughter, almost him. We've talked about that his son was mentioned but never mentioned again. His son is Vecna.
Right.
Son is Number one. He's all
And
of them.
he, well, and then the part where they show him torturing the animals, because they talk about the animals being tortured, and they
Yeah.
thought it was some sort of,
They thought the house was like Amityville. Like
yeah, right.
they thought the house was haunted. Like it was like
Mhm.
the hotel from The Shining. Like they thought it was something like that. Like, but it wasn't. It was their son.
Right.
Um, and he enjoys watching people being or animals or creatures being twisted and tortured. He does not. He enjoys that. So of course, the day of what I call the massacre at Hawkins Lab that Elle remembers. Oh, that's a good look at that. Very Michael Myers vibes with torturing the animals.
Very much so.
So good. I love all these little like 80s horror movie things. But the day that has been haunting Elle this whole time, the massacre, when Papa comes in and goes, "What did you do?" I thought this whole time
She went nuts.
that she went nuts because they were bullying her. Like she went nuts on the girl with the roller skate. I thought, oh my god, she went nuts, and she had just developed her powers, and she just like annihilated everyone. She didn't. Number one did.
Well, and she actually frees number one. We didn't talk about that.
Yeah.
Because he has a dampening device that she takes care of for him.
Takes it out.
She,
And so
he
that
manipulated her perfectly.
oh, he did. He did. And that's the thing. It's like they've set this up to be very much, her and him going against each other.
Right.
This is unlike any other big bad that she has faced because
Right.
personal battle.
Right.
Because she sent him to the upside down. She created the first gate because he was threatening her after he killed all these children and all these teenagers and children. He wanted her to go with him because she was powerful. He recognized that, but she didn't want to because she's a little kid. She's scared. She sees all these people dead. And then he gets mad and comes at her.
Right.
And,
right. Because together they could be unstoppable.
Oh, they would, yeah. The thing that he's a sociopath. He killed his own mom and his sister. So the thing that he doesn't recognize in her because he doesn't have it is empathy.
Right.
And he's a very empathetic person. So he literally thinks that she is exactly like him until that moment when she
Right.
looks at him like, what did you do? And I found it very, it's a very telling thing that she gives him this look like, what did you do? When she realizes he killed all these people, all these little kids. And then the only thing that's been stuck in her head is Papa coming in and going, what did you do?
Right.
Like I felt it was very like telling of who she was as a person. But yeah, no, I did not. I saw that coming. I did not see that he is Victor Krell's son coming.
Right. Right. Right.
Which I loved. Anytime you can get me to like,
he almost reminded me of Damon from The Omen.
okay. So the little kid, when he was a little kid, when they have the flashback. So
Mm-hmm.
this is going on. Elle now knows that she created the gate to the upside down by putting number one, who is now Vecna, through the gate. She created the gate to get him away to protect her. Okay. So you have that going on. At the same time, you have Erica, who's Lucas's little sister, actually is like, guys, I think there's a gate at each death. You had it in the leg. Like Erica's the one who comes up with like that whole, like they had the suspicions, but Erica's like, no, there are gates. We have to get somewhere where we could talk to Steve's group.
Right.
So they sneak out of the house. I mean, that's the whole point of the show.
Well, right, and again, the deputy that I just love is there. Like, where'd everybody go?
I told you he is the deputy. He's David Arquette's character.
He is, which is perfect.
It's so funny. But so they go and here and then upside down, the 4 going also, and they do get to a place where they could talk through lights, night lights, or light bright, kind of thing, and they figure out that they could go to Eddie's.
Right, because the kids are all there at Mike's house, and then the light brights, but on the upside down, they're in the same place.
Because and they go to the same place because
they did.
Bought a gun and has a gun. I think this is going to be very important going in the next 2 episodes. Nancy bought a gun after what happened in season, I don't know if it's season 2 or season 3, but she has a gun in her house, and everything that's at your house or at the location above, the upside down has it too. So her gun should be there. However, her gun is not there. She has music that she likes from like 3 years ago, 2-3 years ago. Why is this here? Time is running slower in the upside down than it is above. Like it's running slower, and this is the first time that they have actually like.
See, I thought because when it's not the time is not moving slower, but the upside down was created when Vecna was pushed through at that moment with L. So the moment that L pushed through and the Demogorgon comes out, and you start season 1 with the Demogorgon taking Will, that's the same moment. That right there is that moment that it's frozen at in there, I think. Her diary is the same date that went missing. Yes, that's exactly right. Yep. What Connor said. That's what I picked up too, yeah.
So
it's frozen in time there.
It's frozen, yeah. It's this weird thing because they just assumed that everything that was going on was going on.
Right.
And so I think this is going to play into the 2 episodes that we still have to come.
I agree, it will.
But yeah, they communicate through the light bright, which
is awesome. Play back to season 1.
Oh my God, so much fun. Mike's little sister is still their light bright. They go to Eddie's trailer because they know if there's gates open, that's probably, and they know the ceiling they saw, like they know Eddie knows where the girl died was on the ceiling, and so they literally are like, okay, if there's a gate, this is probably going to be the easiest one to get to.
Right.
So they go to Eddie's trailer. Steve's group goes to Eddie's trailer, and they figure out a way to get people to cross, which I thought was fun.
The whole rope.
Okay, so do you know what it reminded me of? Poltergeist.
Yes.
When Mom has to go through the thing and pull, and they have like the sheets tied, and then they like pull. Like I literally was like, oh my God, it's Poltergeist.
Right.
I think Connor asked a great question. So, what sign do you think they'll play to pull Nancy out of a trance? So Nancy, while they're pulling everybody, Vecna gets Nancy. Now Nancy has her own guilt. Okay, but you got to think Nancy is literally the hold on, super Poltergeist reference, right? That's all it reminded me of was Poltergeist.
No, that was exactly right. Yeah.
But Nancy, while they're going through, everybody's going through, and they're getting they get everybody else. Nancy is trapped in a trance with Vecna, and he shows her, I don't know if it's on purpose or not, but this is where we learn that Vecna is Victor's son Henry. We already know Vecna, and we know Vecna is number one, so now we can tie all those things together.
Right.
And we see her facing off against Vecna a little bit. And this is very much the tie to Nightmare on Elm Street. It all is a Nightmare on Elm Street. The last girl on Nightmare on Elm Street, Nancy, she fights Freddy. She makes it to season 2 or show 2, number 2 and number 3. And so it's just really, really cool that she's there, but she's in a trance. So now they have to figure out how to get her out of the trance. They know it's music. So one of those villains. Well, and I don't know if he did. So I thought that at first, but then when I rewatched it, I rewatched the last 2 episodes. I rewatched it, and I don't think he meant to show her that much.
Right. I don't think so either.
That she has some kind of connection with him, and I actually think it's because she has dealt with the Upside Down so much and everything. I think any of them could have had that connection. I think they made it Nancy because it's a Nightmare on Elm Street cross-reference kind of season. But
well, that, and she's got all the guilt from Barb.
She's got that's one of the reasons that she was picked. Everyone he has picked has guilt.
Right.
So it's very much that Freddy feeds off fear, Vecna feeds off guilt. And Nancy has never gotten over her guilt. Ever on Barb. Like, it is obvious with how Vecna attacks her mentally.
Right. Well, and finally a Barb reference. Finally we come back to Barb. Right? Thank you. I was hoping we'd save Barb, but you know. But now it would have been fun though if Vecna would have started monologuing. That might have been fun.
Oh my gosh. But going back to Connor's question, what song do you think will play to pull Nancy out of this trance? I have a feeling Steve will know what song to play. I actually think that Robin will know what song to play.
Oh.
Because Robin made fun of her musical choices.
Right. Sure did.
Right before. And
right.
I'm like, I think Steve will pick a song. It will not be the right one.
That's very possible.
And I think Robin will pick a song and Steve will give her this look.
And this starts the love affair between Nancy and Robin.
No, but I think that I think Robin's character, and I worry about her character this season too, but I think Robin's character is very, she looks at things logically, where everybody else doesn't.
That's true.
Connor's like, damn, that's probably gonna happen. See? I was like, oh, it could be like a love song between her and Steve, and it would be romantic and everything. But then I was like, no, it's gotta be Robin because she was making fun of her music.
Yep.
I do think. I
bet it's not Kate Bush.
Probably not. I do think that no, it's going to be way more popular because
right. It's going to be Wham.
She's not indie. Nancy's not indie.
No.
Nancy's like, look at me. I'm going to go to college and I'm going to be a journalist and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to do
It's Wham. I'm sure of it.
Wake me up.
Yep. Before you go.
Oh my God.
No.
Perfect. Because it's a Freddy reference. Because it's a nightmare and sleep. Don't sleep. Wake me up before you go.
Yep.
Not even gonna lie. Let's see. If Steve doesn't die, Nancy and him. I do agree with that, but I do think I actually sadly think that Steve might die this season. I don't want it to happen. I don't want Steve or Eddie to die. Like, I don't. But I feel like one of the older kids has to die. You think Graham would be the best too, Professor?
Yeah, I just think that's a really good one.
Fun would be so much fun. And get this. This is what I think will happen. They don't have a radio. Like they have the Walkman, but you have to have the cassette. Well, Eddie plays the guitar, and the guitar is in his trailer because they've showed it. They've shown the guitar.
That's true.
Think he is going to have to sing whatever song it is.
Well, that's an interesting thought.
Yeah,
that's really interesting.
I think Eddie will have to sing, and I would laugh so hard if Eddie had to sing "Wake Me Up."
You know what would really be funny is if Nancy's favorite song was actually "Never Say Never" by Romeo Void.
Oh.
It's a little indie, it's a little naughty, especially for Nancy, and
right?
it'd be fun.
It would be fun. It would be fun. Yeah, Jonathan is a throwaway character. Now, here's the thing with it. I think he's going to play a bigger part in the next 2 episodes. And my thought, if they don't kill Steve off, I think that Jonathan will die. One of the older kids, I feel, has to die. If they're calling the last 2 episodes a bloodbath where a main character dies, I think he's a vampire.
It would be
so funny. I want them to do that. I know that's already made, but please do that. But I think that one of the older kids has to die, and I say that just because they've introduced so many that are older than the main group. It's taking away from the main group a little bit. I don't think they'll kill Nancy because they've set her up to be the last girl because it's a Freddie Nancy thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they will. They only have 2 episodes left, so I don't know if they'll get to kill Vecna. I think. Oh, yeah. I don't know if they'll get to kill Vecna. Like, I don't know if that'll happen. I think they're setting it up for that to happen next season. I really do. I think he's too strong of a character and he's too much of a compelling fight for Elle that it's going to happen in 2 episodes. Like, I don't think that's going to happen. So my gut tells me that I think that Jonathan's going to die. Or Steve. One of them. So, and I agree. We'll cry. Whoever dies will cry. I said earlier, I was like, I want a Robin and Steve movie. Like, I don't want a TV show with them. I just want to see, like, I want them to be out and like be the home, like the townies, because they're neither one of them are going to college, but I think they're
Robin's in the band, which I didn't quite. I'm like, is she still in high school? Because she goes and plays in the band for the pep club. So yeah,
she's a senior.
Yeah, that's
she's
what I
the
thought.
same as Nancy. Exactly. I mean, I know a lot of people are like, well, no, they'll kill him. Like, they'll defeat the big bad. That's what they do every season. I don't think they will this season.
So it's gonna be the Freddy ending, the Nightmare on Elm Street ending, where you think you've killed them, you do all this stuff, and then through the window.
It's just the worst ending. Like that doll that they pulled through the window of the Freddy. That was so fucking fun. Oh, so funny. Almost got through all of this. I forgot it.
If this was 1986, this would now be PG-13. Since we're in 2022, somehow it's now R-rated. I don't know.
Are you right? Almost did it. Almost did it. You guys,
oh my gosh.
We can do these shows without cursing. I get so excited about these. And I'm just like, I can't. And I almost did it. Oh.
I'm going to have to put a Tipper Gore warning label on this episode.
The F-bomb. One time. In 85 episodes, I've used it 3 times. Go find the other 2 and you'll win a prize.
Great. Now we're giving prizes for you. Go find AJ's cursing. Please.
I try so hard, Professor.
I know.
Professor does not curse like I curse. I curse. I did not curse until I was 40. Okay, so once I turned 40, and
It all came out.
this is gonna sound terrible. Once I turned 40 and both my parents had passed away, I cursed. And my son was like, "Wow, how long have you held that?"
40 years.
40 years. It just
So yeah, see, my parents cursed regularly and often, and you know.
I do. Well, they didn't know. My mom and I live with my grandma, and so my grandmother was like, "Don't use that word. There are certain words you do not use." But my grandmother would use the word crap and shit all the time. She made this weird noise when she got up. She'd be like, "Oi, oi, shoo, shoo, crap." Oh, so I was taught not to use that word. So sorry, guys. Sorry. And goes back.
Anyway, so.
But no, I agree with Connor. I don't think they would introduce Vecna like this if he's not going to be in season 5. I think all of the seasons have talked about the trauma that Elle has gone through, right? And I think this is the most traumatic. Yes, she was raised in a lab. Yes, her mother was taken from her. But seeing a lab full of children massacred and knowing that you sent like the murderer into the upside down to protect yourself and the world gives her an emotional connection to this monster that she's never had with any of the others. She's had an emotional connection to the victims, but she's never had an emotional connection to the monster.
Right.
And I think that for them to say that, a lot of people saying that, oh, he's gonna, she's gonna defeat him. I feel like that puts it way too low of a bar for who he is. Now, wait, hold on. Oh, we both clicked it.
We did.
That Nightmare on Elm Street. It was so bad. It was so bad. It was so bad. But I do think that is going to happen with this. I think if they're smart, I think it'll happen with this. I think we think they've defeated Vecna.
Right.
But then we see Vecna, and we realize they have not defeated Vecna.
Right. Delayed him.
Right. Well, and I think it's like Freddy. Seriously, like he needs time to regroup.
As long as we don't do next season as Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, which is horrible.
No, I think they'll go a completely different way next.
Well, they typically do for all the seasons. I'm just saying, if we do that one, I'm out. I mean,
each season has like really gone into a genre.
It has.
That we grew up with, which is great. And I was, even though we had horror, because it's a scary little
it's all been horror at a level, but different levels there, yeah.
But it's not as horror, you can't reflect on it as much as a horror movie. And this season is very much, you reflect on the horror.
Right.
They had a massacre of children.
Right. So I got a question about that, though.
Yes.
So, season 2, we meet some of Elle's other, not relatives, but other kids that have abilities like Elle when she goes off to the city.
Right.
Where did they come from? If one murders everybody...
I don't think he murdered everybody. I think Elle stopped him before he got to everyone.
Maybe.
I don't think he murdered number 8 because number 8 was in the room with Papa when Papa left.
Right.
And Papa comes in right after. So I think there were...
Well, when Papa left, though, 8 gets killed right there, so... And Papa's knocked unconscious.
With the time jump,
yeah. I'm hoping we stay in the 80s when they do the time jump. I hope it's just a couple of years.
I know. I really don't think we will. But the kids are just getting too old to play.
Well, but but you make it 1989. I mean, you can do that.
And seniors, Callie.
Yes. Yeah, Yeah, and what number was she? I don't think we ever knew what number Callie was.
But number 8 was the only one not bleeding out of his eyes. So I don't think he killed him. I think that she stopped him from doing that. And I actually think that, I mean, you'd have to go and watch it again and count. And then you'd have to trust that the director and the producer and the people knew how many and counted how many, which is a big statement for us to assume. But I because of Callie, you know that not all of them were killed. Plus, you don't know how many escaped.
Right. Well, but escaped during what time frame? I would assume the escape is right after this.
Right. They could be
unless there was a group before this group.
Right.
So
well,
I mean that was my question. I'm like, okay, where did they come from? Especially if he goes through and pretty much murders everybody but 11.
Well, here's the thing: when they have them all lined up, you have 2 through like 30.
Was it through 30?
24, something like that, right?
Okay.
Okay, so you have 2 through 20 something to 30. It's at least 23. I know there's a 23 because I think he's the little one who opens the door. So you have them. That is not that many kids that are there. There are not that many kids.
Right.
There are kids that are missing. They could be in different places at that time, or they could have escaped.
Right. It just kind of has that whole Dark Angel sort of feel that the series of Jessica Alba from early 2000s. So, yeah. Well, and that's true now. They've explained away because so much was going on that, it's Will's birthday and that's part of the reason Will's being so
Moody,
yeah.
Before emo was a thing.
Exactly.
I mean, Will has bubbling issues. Let's just say that. He has issues that are bubbling. I personally kind of hope, because there'll be another big bad. Like, I don't think Vesca's the end all be all of the Upside Down. I think there's a big bad who was there before Vecna. I think that
may be converted Vecna.
Yes, I think Vecna it's like a D&D campaign. I think Vecna's the, like, boss before you get to the boss. The one that you always think is the boss, but then it's like, oh wait, no, you just think you killed the big bad? No, that was his general.
Right. No, right. He does have a Cure poster, and that's exactly what I was going to say. I can see him being into the Cure, Depeche Mode, many of those other new wave bands that were a little more
I call it like the prequel to, the emo phase.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah, and I think that there's a bigger bad down there. I think there's somebody or something down there that's bigger bad. And I think that, they're going to get to it next season, but I don't think they're done with that. You don't just kill a 5-star general this easily.
So, what if Krill is really the big bad?
See, that would be beautiful for this season, but I don't think it's going to happen.
What at the end if we see there's a version of Krill down there? Sun.
Okay.
I don't know.
That would be fun. That would be so much fun.
Anyway.
But I actually think that you're gonna see the big bad that's hidden down there.
Always somebody above the general.
And Vecna is the 5-star general. Like, first of all, like, they've in their D&D game, he was, and that's what you always have to go by this. And I told Professor, and Connor, I don't know if you watched the last show that we did, but like the whole thing. But I told Professor how I want this whole series to end.
Mm-hmm.
I want the series to end with a bunch of 40-something-year-old people, some girls, some guys, it's fine, playing D&D, and these are their characters.
They're doing a mission through the 80s like that, yeah.
80s! Like, seriously, that would be how I would want this whole thing to
It would be really cool.
It would be so much fun. But I
It
don't think
would be really cool.
and if it does happen now, I'm going to take credit. It's just how it's going to be. It's fun on Geeky Cool. It's
I
fine.
love it.
It's fine. Geeky Cool called it. No.
That's right. We'll be able to say that. We called it.
We were
Go back and check this episode. We've got it. So,
really watching it tonight,
is the big bad going to be T-Matt? And how do you portray Tiamat? Because the Demogorgon really looks nothing like the Demogorgon in Stranger Things.
Connor. It would be perfect though. Think about it. You get them to end the whole thing. Like they defeat the big bad, and then the last scene, all you see is like some older, like 40 to 50-year-olds, like standing up and going, "Good game, guys. See you next week," and then walking out.
Or being
That would be perfect.
basically redoing the Eddie scene from this year to take him down. Roll.
Roll it.
The dice just rolling.
Much fun. Oh, it'd be so much fun. Not even gonna lie. What do you think? Do you have like an idea, Professor? Wait, hold on. What did he say? I'd be shaking my head looking back.
Yeah, they'd be talking about it like they do the last episode of Lost. You'd be like, are you freaking kidding me?
It would be perfect for me. It would be perfect for me because as long as they don't end it in a way that doesn't wrap up the stories, I think it would be perfect if this whole thing has just been nothing but a D&D campaign. I just think it would be perfect.
It would be funny. It would be very funny.
I think it would be hilarious if you see like this, like beer gut, bearded, 40-plus-year-old nerd playing L. I think it would be hilarious.
I feel called out.
Bearded.
I feel called out.
Listen, hey, I think it would be funny if somebody like me was playing Steve. I think that would be.
Now that would be funny, right?
See?
Well, see, my D&D game that I'm playing in currently is every other Friday night.
Right.
And yes, I know I'm going to hell because of it. But the game I play a 3-foot-tall rabbit person girl monk.
Yes.
Who is attention deficit disorder and talks a mile a minute.
Oh my god. See, this is what I'm saying. This is what's fun about D&D, and I would love for them to end it. It would be the best thing ever. Like in my mind, that's the perfect ending for Stranger Things. Just good campaign, guys. I just want this to happen. No matter what they do, this is how it ends in my head.
So actually, the best way to do that is to end it with the regular ending, and then the post-credit scene pops up
very last
with them rolling dice and rolling a 20 and going, "We killed Tiamat. We finally did it. Our Stranger Things mission is over."
No, here's the thing. You literally go, you see a guy rolling the dice, right? And it's
right.
funny. And then all of the people look over and go, "Okay, Elle, do your thing," and you see.
Right, exactly. Because I would play Elle because that would be the kind of character I would.
That's what I'm saying. And if you look at, and I'm.
That's what I'm saying. I feel called out. Here I am, a plus 40-year-old guy playing female characters in D&D.
It's fine. I play guys in D&D all the time.
Yeah, right. It's fun.
It's fun. But I'm going to have you guys do something after the next 2 episodes drop and we discuss them, because that's what we're going to do next week.
Next week.
I want, if you have time, to go back and watch the other seasons with my theory in your head. Because I feel like Will is being played by a girl. Okay? I feel like Elle is being played by a guy. I want you to go back and then try to figure out who's playing these two. Think about it for a minute. think about it. I actually think that Mike might also be played by a girl because Mike is a little bit more romantic, and he's like he's like, oh, and I think that Ella's like, okay, like I just feel like this is how it's gonna be.
I think Jack Black is actually playing Robin.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It's actually Jack Black. It'd be funny. Bring in like all these famous people that we know that played D&D.
Yes. Oh my god, that would be beautiful. That would make me so happy.
Yeah, that would be fun, right?
Just get the people from Critical Role to come
Yeah,
in.
no,
And
that would.
this was
Oh my gosh! There you go. And Sam, the guy that plays, Scandalin. He's definitely Steve right there.
Right? It's a thing. I'm just saying. This is how I want this whole show to end.
Oh gosh.
I'm putting it out there, and if it ends this way, I will be a happy, happy geeky girl. Everybody's like, AJ, you're so wrong. You're so wrong. That's not to end. They need to have happy endings, and I'm like, no.
You have the happy ending, and then you go to the cut scene at the middle of the credits.
Have you ever seen happier bunch of nerds than if somebody beats a campaign at D&D?
Right.
They're happy when you end a campaign that is a 4 or 5 year campaign.
Yeah.
How long some of these campaigns last?
Yeah.
You go through and you beat every single big bad that they put in, and you develop your characters, and your characters grow, and they gain powers, and they do all this stuff. Guess what? That is a happy, happy ending.
It is. I agree.
Oh, I'm so weird. Professor, I'm not normal. That's fine.
Why would you want to be normal? That sounds
I don't
horribly
even
boring.
do it, so it's fine.
Yeah, I don't understand people that want to be normal.
And no, it's good.
Because I'm like,
Gosh, we've been talking for 2.5 hours.
yeah,
Next week will be shorter because we only have 2 episodes to talk about and 3 hours of show.
We
So,
think it'll be shorter, maybe.
unless they end it badly, and then I'm going to be upset. So.
Or Keith comes on with us then. And we love Keith.
If my husband comes on, we might go longer.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, I agree. We might.
Stranger Things, so.
Like I said, my favorite show.
It's not my favorite show, but it's really up there. But I do love finding all of these little 80s things. And if you could,
I agree.
well, I'm like, oh my gosh, this reminded me of this and this.
Now, what if we can get Murray to do something that does a crane kick to get himself out?
Oh my god. Yes.
Wouldn't that be? I mean,
wait. Murray crane kicks the Demigorgon.
I love it.
Beautiful.
Or one of the Russian guards is still alive or something.
No. The Demigorgon. He crane kicks the Demigorgon, and of course, then they throw fire at it, and it
Right.
It eat him. I don't want Murray to die. But
No, I don't either. But yeah.
It would be,
Yay, Connor!
oh, it's not my favorite, but it's really up there. But I love anything that I can pick apart and find all these like references. And this show has more references that because I was an 80s kid that I can go through, and I just automatically go, oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, well, like I said, I cheered. I cheered when stopped and laughed and cheered when they did the Fast Times reference because I'm like, oh my gosh, as a teenage boy during this time, yes.
You're just like BBKs. You just totally went there in your head too. Like as soon as they said it, your mind went back to that moment when you.
I'm like, oh, I know what part she's pausing at. Yep, because my mind did the slow motion coming out of the pool.
Oh, that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. I can't. I'm gonna do Dirty Dancing scene. I feel like if they give you Phoebe Cates, they have to give the 80s girls Dirty Dancing.
They didn't actually give me Phoebe Cates. They just referenced Phoebe Cates.
Listen, you memorized that scene in your head. They gave it to you. You know they gave it to you.
You know, I may have that on streaming as a purchase. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Every guy that part was like, yes.
Right. Any 80s guy that were like, yeah, because then again, you also have the reference to pausing the video somewhere and talking about how you sit there and you pause. You're like, oh, it's staticky, so I got to try to clean up the static and slow mo maybe.
So why I said Dirty Dancing is not like my favorite, and I liked Patrick Swayze, but I was a little young for him.
Yeah.
However, I will tell you this: we would rent that VHS so much that the video store gave it to us, and my grandmother loved Patrick Swayze. Like, I'm just saying, she was like, he's so hot. And this is my grandmother who like only ever dated one person her whole life, and that was my grandfather, and never looked at another man. And when I say that, I literally mean that. He died in 1979 and she passed away in 2008. Never looked at another man. But Patrick Swayze with the end scene, not the nobody puts baby in the corner. Okay, that one was good, whatever. Whatever. But where he crinkles his nose and does the time of my life, and he crinkles his nose. She wore our freaking tape out. Like she was like, just fast forward to the nose crinkle. Like
whatever does it.
Pause it. She was just like, it was like, I was like, okay, Grandma, it's okay. You're old. I'll love you. Okay, Grandma.
Yeah, it's not like you were minding it anyway. So.
I mean, it's fine. Like he's not. Patrick Swayze was not my type.
You prefer the bad boys.
No, you know what? Growing up, watching TV shows and watching like all these shows, these movies, I always liked, and I still say this to this day, I always liked the sidekick or like the friend more than I liked the main character. So I never really got into the whole bad boy thing because they were usually the main characters. I usually liked the friend. So like John Cusack was like one of my crushes because in almost every movie he played in until I got a little older, he was like the nerdy sidekick.
It's true.
I like the nerdy guys.
The Better Off Dead, I mean, is pretty amazing.
Oh my gosh, I love that movie so much.
Me too. So, but yes, well, I can see that. I can see you more of a ducky girl.
Oh, I'm totally a ducky girl. Seriously, dude, you're not gonna get with a guy who dumped you because his friend didn't like you.
Right.
His friend wanted to
and he's a rich jerk. Come on, just Ducky wants you for you.
Also, I agree with Ducky. Blaine, his name is Blaine.
Exactly.
That's not a name. No, Ducky was totally like, I was like, when she, and he let her, I know he got his happy ending, he got a blonde girl, whatever.
I was cheering for Ducky.
But,
because again, I related to Ducky.
With Ducky, like, no.
No.
That's a thing.
Yeah, I'm with you.
We have to go because
we do. It's 9:30. Yeah.
And I have to
you got like 2 hours sleep last night, so you did.
My husband was in the hospital last night, so that was not fun. He's okay. He's out of the hospital now, but
that's good. I'm glad he's doing better.
I mean, they couldn't figure out what was causing it, so there's that. But he's okay. That's a newlywed thing. My husband's in the hospital.
Yeah, you gotta cut back on the arsenic so it doesn't start drinking so quickly.
I know, but I just have so much fun with it. Please don't take me serious. Would not poison my husband.
Nope.
It's so weird calling my husband, to be honest with you. So I would not do that. Wait a couple years and then we'll talk. But
right, exactly. When it's not quite so new.
Yeah, right now it's still cute.
Yeah.
Well, speaking speaking of my husband, he is one of our friends that we like to promote. So,
Do we want to start with him?
yeah, we always end with him. So,
Okay, we can end with him.
either way, I don't care. It's fine.
No, that's fine. We can.
But he is one of the people who,
He certainly is. That's a good transition.
if you like what we do, then we have friends who do similar things. And we like to share like a little bit of our show with them and just let you guys know where to find them. And so we have these little banners that Professor will put across there. Look at this. First ones we're going to start with is the Oz Pod Gals. Now,
Oz Pod Gals
are Amber and Brianna, and they are from OzCon, and you can find them on Facebook. They do shows sporadically, but usually on Thursdays at 6 p.m. Sometimes they're pre-recorded, sometimes they're live, but they're very, very like knowledgeable, nerdy girls, and they're also very pretty. So there's that. Like, a pretty nerdy girl helping explain things. It's fun.
It doesn't get a lot better than that.
Right. So be sure to go over and check them out. Hit like on their page. They're new to this, and I mean, we're still kind of new to this, but they're newer than us to this. And so just encourage them and let them know that you guys are checking that out and everything. Then we have some people who aren't so new to this, and that would be Keith and Gary over at Pop Culture Minefield.
Yeah.
Keith and Gary are on YouTube. They do stuff on Facebook. They have so many shows I can't even tell
It's hard to keep up.
They're
so popular. They're our popular friends.
Our popular friends. They're our friends who know all the popular people.
They are.
We can kind of feel important because we know them.
Right, that's right. And
Yeah.
Keith is so nice to come on sometimes.
Keith is nice.
Gary's scared to come on because he knows we're PG, so that scares him.
Yeah, Gary and I would get along in real life. But that's the thing with them. Be sure to go check them out. They do have amazing guests. They give you insights into stuff. They know the business, entertainment business, inside and out. They know everyone and they know what's going on. So they will give you some amazing scoops. What I will say is if you have little ones running around and you want to keep it PG in your house, just put some headphones on and listen to them anyway because it's worth it.
Like when you're listening to AJ.
3 times a day. I think that's pretty good.
Doing all right, yeah.
It's a struggle. It's a struggle, but it's doing pretty good.
I'm going to put a warning label on it.
He didn't set the F-bomb. Find it. That would be hilarious.
Typical warning label.
He probably will, you guys. I'm just saying. But Keith and Gary, so much fun. Go check their YouTube channel out. Pop Culture Minefield. They have several shows, like I said, and they keep adding them. I can't even keep up with them. And if that is not enough, Keith has another show, a solo show, on the Fat Steven Seagal channel. And that is called Keith Chimes In, and it's Mondays at 3 p.m. I'm telling you, I don't know how he has time to do all of that, Professor. I don't.
I don't know. His wife graciously allows him to do it. So
she is a blessing because
she is.
She is amazingly funny and so into knowing what's going on. I get all my scoops from Keith, so he'll text me. I get Facebook messages from Keith.
I know, right? Hey, check out this article. Check out this article.
I think he has a bunch of us that he just sends these things to, and I love it. It's so much fun. But yeah, go check them out. Be sure when you're on these YouTube channels, you hit subscribe if you like what you see. Hit like on those videos, and each of those videos, comment. We like to have comments. As you can tell, we love that Connor was talking to us. We enjoy that. But comment, like, share, all of those things.
And remember to follow. Following is also important.
So. Just so you guys know, algorithms change every couple months on all of the social media platforms. We try to keep up with them. It's very difficult. What you guys can do to help is share our stuff. Comment, like, follow. All of those things help us so much. So we appreciate it.
We do.
We also have our distinguished competition. If we're Marvel, they're DC, as my professor says, and that is the Nerd Informants. Tim and Josh over Nerd Informants, YouTube, Facebook. I think they're on Twitter as well. Pretty sure they're on Twitter. They also have their own website now.
They do.
You guys can go check them out, hit like, subscribe, do all the little buttons, push all the things on all of the social media platforms. They will give you all kinds of movie reviews. They keep up with news. Josh does some great interviews.
He does.
Love to do interviews. When he did his Bruce Campbell interview, I was like,
I know, right? You're like,
I was so jealous. I just don't even know how to do that. Like, I don't know how to get in touch with the right people. If you guys know, help me. It's fine.
because we'd love to bring those kind of interviews to our channel.
Yes. Hey, and I work in the media, so I interview people all the time. But yeah, so go check that out. The Bruce Campbell one is hilarious, by the way. But they also have created a Facebook page for us, for anybody who's nerdy, geeky, or just want to share in a fandom. And that is the Nerd Informants Beyond. It's a great Facebook page where anyone can add any cool, geeky stuff that they want. Please be friendly to other people, even if you don't like what they have to say or what they're into, because we're not gatekeepers. We are not about putting people down. We are a great nerd community, and we're about building up our fellow nerds and geeks. So
Right on.
be sure to do that, but go check that page out so that way you have a voice in the nerd community as well. Then there's the Scallywag, my husband, Spoo, over at Scallywag Productions on YouTube. He is still editing. He's had some health problems that have come up again, but he is editing some videos currently and hopefully get some on his YouTube channel. But be sure to check him out. You can find him on Instagram. He posts a collectible of the day with all the stuff behind me. And on Facebook. Be sure to like, subscribe, all of those things. And then there's us.
Us.
We are a group of amazing contributors. We're just two of a bunch of us.
A bunch.
To contribute, and we write articles. The professor's really on top of all the movie trailers. We do the live, but we have our own website, so you guys can check us out, GeekyKOOL.com. But check us out on Facebook as well, and be sure to hit like and subscribe our YouTube channel. All of that.
That's perfect. Thank you.
You're
I always
welcome.
appreciate when you do that, Ace. That's awesome.
I
But-
love hearing the love. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. We love our friends. We hope you enjoyed them also. Come enjoy us and enjoy them also. You can do both. You can do all of them.
It's not a competitive thing.
It isn't.
We just want, if you like what they do more than you like what we do, that's fine.
Yeah, we're all different. So
Yeah.
good.
I like, he thinks Stranger Things is his favorite show. It's not my favorite show, but I really enjoy it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But if you have something you'd like to share and you would like to be a writer or do videos for us, we are a platform that we welcome new contributors. So feel
Yes.
free to give us a holler, post a
And-
comment.
And no matter like your age, we have very young contributors.
Mhm.
As I think, as long as your parents are giving
Right.
you consent to do it, we're good with that. And you're old enough to not be like gibberish. I don't want a 6-month-old trying to be a video.
Right, right. And then we got very old contributors like me. So
We have girls, we have guys, we have all kinds of people. We do not care who you are as long as you are bringing something geeky to us.
exactly. Exactly. So if you're interested, let us know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that was a fun episode. Looking forward to next week because we'll have watched 2 more episodes of Stranger Things, and then we'll see if anybody dies.
Apparently, it's a bloodbath.
It is.
That's
So
what-
maybe that just means the
I'm thinking like I think it's got to be Steve. Okay, this is just what I'm going to throw out there. I think it's going to be Steve, and I think it's going to be a Johnny Depp Nightmare on Elm Street death.
I think it's going to be the deputy.
Yes.
I don't know. And could be
It's kind coming
What's
back.
his name? James?
James. Oh yeah, James is gonna die.
James got to die. We're going to kill James.
James might not die this time though. He might die next season.
So he may cause more trouble. That might be interesting.
Yeah, that could be very interesting.
Yeah, that's true.
We
That's
love
true.
characters. I just don't want Eddie to die or Steve to die. Like I think Eddie's interesting. I think he could be fun carrying over to next season.
He is an interesting character. I agree. He's a very interesting character.
But who knows? Somebody's gonna die. So far, they haven't killed off any major people.
Not yet. Hopefully not.
Nope.
We will see. So come back next week. Join us then. Should be the same bat time, same bat channel.
Maybe not as long. Who knows?
Probably not as long, but I don't know. It's the final 2 episodes. We'll see how it goes. So.
Yeah. Bye.
And we'll talk to you later. Stay geeky, everybody.